win.
You're going to be fired if they didn't, you know. So.
I'll do it regardless.
Let's see what happens in this draft. Because we have seen teams even struggle when it gets to a game 3. And now game 3 is default.
I feel like one of the things, though, you know, when you have best of 5s without Fearless, there's this ebb and flow of, like, problem solving, especially in a situation like this where we see the same sides twice in a row. You're like, okay, what's going to change? Sometimes they leave the same bans, which, you know, we're seeing now, obviously, but sometimes you see, like, the same picks come out, but little tweaks, little adjustments. With Fearless, you just throw everything out. You know, you have the Dirty Water just gone, fresh new load, and it's just a situation where none of the problems you had in the last game, in terms of those picks you have to face into, or maybe lacking things in your composition, are relevant.
Yeah.
You know, you have to really just start again fresh. I will say something is the bans will tend to feel pretty samey because, you know, you don't have to ban those picks you struggled with. Like maybe, like without Fearless, you're like, okay, should we ban Aurora instead of Shen? Now Aurora's gone, so, you know, you just keep the Shen ban. And Sponge going for the Nidalee. We have seen him have success on this pick. You know, we've seen Zyra picked into a lot. I feel like Nidalee has the edge in that matchup, you know, with the long-range poke. And Zyra's very, like, counter-engage. But it is a situation where... I was going to say, you know, similar bans. We've actually seen the Sejuani ban come out from DRX.
That's the one change.
Yeah, so Ambessa picked up by Nongshim here. So big pick for Kingen. Could see the Jace, I expect to come out from DRX in return here. We'll see what Nongshim wants to pick up in the jungle. Obviously, I think Gideon, 2 of his biggest games, we obviously just had that great bye game, but also he had a fantastic Sejuani game. So those two both taken away from him. Gonna go for the old Cork. He did get his first ever mid lane win the other day. Win rate still in recovery.
It was UCal, right?
Yeah. That
picked it up, I believe, against the DM Freaks.
Wasn't hugely convincing in and of itself, but it was a win.
Yeah.
You know, he did win POM, but not specifically, I'd say, for the Corky game. Definitely took a while to get going. But yeah, I think the Jace makes sense into the Ambessa. Not the most fun lane matchup to play. Obviously, Ambessa is Ambessa. She just becomes a monster later on, but definitely going to not have the pressure in that matchup early on. And now, I mean, I feel like in here you probably just pick what mid lane you want into the Corky, but opted instead to go for the AD carry, so they saw how things got kind of thinned out as the pool got threatened in the second rotation last time, opting to get that early Kai'Sa for Teddy, which has, I think, been his best pick so far. Does make me think the comp is a little bit AP heavy. It's not too much of a concern. They can still go an AP mid, but thing. And we're going to see Gideon on the Lilia. So this is the guy who, when he's playing Sejuani and Vi, will get like a massive farm lead. He's now on Lilia. I mean, it is into a Nidalee who's also farming jungler, but I think if you put a foot wrong as Sponge, you're just going to fall so far behind, and Lilia will just take over the game.
Yeah, Gideon slowly becoming that guy for the squad. We didn't know who was going to be it. You know, it could be Kingen time to time. Lahans was that guy at times. You know, Jiwoo, he's had his moments. Fisher. Gideon now having his own moment to shine. Feels like, you know, Nongshim are coming together individually and as a team. It's looking pretty good here in play-in so far. Yeah. MF going to be banned.
Poppy ban. We've seen a lot of Poppy Kai'Sa. I don't think there's that many things on the side of Nongshim so far that really Poppy's great into. She obviously gets a lot of value and stuff with dashes. I mean, Ambessa is decent value, but other than that. Yeah, MF banned away. Not a pick we've been hugely convinced by, but super strong with the Lilia for when you sleep them and the ult doesn't wake them up.
Yeah.
Pretty obnoxious. Honestly, you have a lot of AD on the side of Nongshim. You could even go for something like a Ziggs if you really wanted.
Yeah, we saw that banned in game 1, actually. Kai'Sa and Ziggs by DRX here in the second phase. Yeah,
definitely a pick G was comfortable on. Yeah, I don't think you don't need more AP with a Lilia, but you're in this position where you kind of have the freedom if you want more AP. Rel going to come out as a ban from Lahans. I imagine you just pick up AD carry here, and then you leave counter pick for Lahans. I mean, they could technically flex the Corky, though, which, you know, Corky bot has seen more wins than Corky mid. So if they wanted to do that, they could, but I don't really see the appeal yet. And they're just going to pick up the Ashe for Jiwoo. A lot of long-range poke from DRX, so I think the Ashe engage has good value. Also, is just generally a strong pick. And we'll see what DRX want to round out their composition with. Definitely want an engaged support to pair up with that Kai'Sa. Looking at the Jack, so, you know, I was thinking it'd probably be this Jace in the top lane, but instead putting it towards the mid lane, really indexing into that long-range poke, and then the Leona comes out, which I think makes sense, given that Nautilus is obviously unavailable, Rel banned.
But it is Lehens, and, you know, what do you go for here? You can pick pretty much anything.
I think it's honestly, it's a decent Braum angle. I think, to be honest. Good into Leona. You can block like the Shock Blast quite well. Pairs well with Ashe, pairs well with Corki and Bessa. And they have engage. You know, I think one of the biggest issues we've seen with Braum being picked up in the LCK is when you don't have engage and you have to have the engaged Braum.
Oh, no.
But you have the Ashe ult, you have the threat of like a Bessa flank, you have like the Lilting Lullaby, you have ways to gap close on the enemy team. So I think it makes sense here for Nongshim. And it means if we do get into those 5v5s, I think DRX are really going to struggle. I think they have to set up and land poke for their composition to work.
Yeah.
You know, it's game 2, game 1, where we talked about, felt like there was an edge towards Nongshim in the draft. I feel like it's kind of gone around the same route in game 2, where I feel like there's an edge. I do think there's, it's hard to say.
Less of an edge.
Less of an edge. I think they don't need to just hard win early as much, but they do have this Nidalee Jace who definitely want to get the ball rolling. If they get ahead and it's a struggle to be engaged on and they just have all that poke, sure, like they can definitely come out ahead. Also, if like we get an early Mikhails, it can really make it, like if you're firing at, if you land an arrow and it gets Mikhails, that's like you're engaged out the window, or the Lilting Lullaby. There's definitely more tools, I'd say, for DRX this game, but I still think Nongshim are really happy with what they got in the draft.
I would be too. I think that Nongshim twice in a row have come in here and they have shown their ability to, you know, even pull out the Lilia relatively early on in a best of 5 and say, hey, we can play with this. We can craft a composition around it. It looks good. Let's jump onto the Rift and see how it looks. Here we go, game number 2. DRX selecting blue side after their game 1 loss. And they get Sponge his Nidalee. He's been able to pop off, but it's been after winning some early games, so I'm sure that Nongshim are going to try to do everything possible to not get behind in this one.
2 for 2 on Spears, though, so far. That's what you want to see. We definitely had a less convincing Nidalee performance. I won't name names, but we definitely had one. A little bit less convincing earlier in the tournament. A lot less Spears connecting. Yeah, so...
Yeah, I remember. I was there.
Yeah, it was less than ideal, I think we can say.
But he did a lot of healing. You know, you can target that one.
Yeah, at that point, just play Soraka jungle, I guess. If you can't hit Spears, that's what you are. But Sponge, you know, as you said, he's had a good... I think that's the thing, is that...
Rich is here.
Yeah, I think it makes complete sense to swap.
Get him, Rich.
Yeah. Not sure about that one.
I mean, it's okay. At the end of the day, he's not really doing anything besides just soaking XP anyway.
Makes complete sense to swap playing into Ashe Braum as Kai'Sa, Leona, not a 2v2 you want to start the lane playing against. I think the thing I will say about DRX is that, you know, Sponge's Nidalee, Teddy's Kai'Sa, these are picks that we've really seen them pop off on so far. So, a lot of comfort, which may end up paying off for DRX. Teddy actually going for the W start there. So obviously you don't need the Q to push the wave. You're not contesting the wave with anyone, but allow the W to get that full passive proc onto King and get him chunked out a bit. Lehens is waiting nearby though. And I think Lehens, that's something he's done really fantastically so far in game 1. But knowing where to be on the map to just shadow to cover your weak side. And it does mean that it's a 1v1 between Duo and Rich, but Jax doesn't have any pressure on this 1v1, you know? If you ever find a window to jump in on Jiwoo and stun him, you then just get auto down. Like, you're not going to kill him in one combo, and you're just going to get run down in return. So it's not a fun time. Jiwoo's completely confident there, especially as he has cleanse as well. And in the meantime, Lehens will just offer some safety to Kingen. So no threat of dive can come through, which I think is a bit of a concern because Kai'Sa, Leon, and Italy, that is a lot of burst, a lot of execute damage between the Nidalee and the Kai'Sa. You really could get dove comfortably if all three were there.
So as it stands, you know, DRX, they do get the swap, but it still feels like Nongshim have reacted very well to it. Fisher with the fancy feet, by the way, he's able to dodge quite a lot in the trades. As this is what happens when you do step up and try to stun the Ashe, is you take a worse trade. And here comes Sponge, he's level 4 with the quick clear, trying to get the punish here onto Lahens, who was just trying to help. He's gonna flash away just to be safe. I think there was a chance maybe he even survives without the flash, but he didn't want to take that chance.
Yep. So getting the sums is obviously nice from Lahens, but I think you imagine that same scenario where Lahens wasn't there, it's just King and dead. So it's positive for DRX, but you always have to put it in the context of what they would have liked to have happen, which would have been a kill specifically on a Kingin and denial of farm. Kingin is still confident, and with a big wave, he's even just forcing Andal away. So I think Lahens willing to sacrifice his summoners to make sure his top laner is okay. And that's kind of been the theme of Lahens' play so far this series.
Yeah, it definitely has been. No freeze in the top lane from Teddy. Could have just kept it there, but instead he wants to get it back in. As we see Jiu come up here to join Lahens, and the Ambessa go down towards bot. So it looks like we are going to have the matchups actually match each other, with the top laners in the bottom side and the duos in the top side.
Yep, so it has resulted Rich has a bit of an XP lead over Kingin, but we also have Jiu with an XP lead over Teddy. Now, as long as Kingin doesn't have too much trouble, I mean, he's having a bit of trouble now in the lane. As long as he can stabilize, the thing is with how the lane is right now, the lane assignments are, Jiu is close to the Krugs, which is going to want to fight, so you have a level advantage on the person who's going to be in that fight. You know, both top laners just TP'd bot. They aren't going to be involved in the grubs. So I think as long as Kingin doesn't fall too far behind in this matchup, Nongshim have a bit of an edge there in terms of who's going to be showing up.
Yeah. Meanwhile, both junglers just going for their full clears, their second one here. Before they do take a look at some of these objectives. Gideon not really going for much of anything in terms of a gank. But now we have a bit of a fight in mid. Fisher level 6 though, even gonna Valkyrie over Yukal for a bit of extra damage. Here's the first gank from Gideon, and Rich is in a bunch of trouble. He has his flash, he's jumping back into the fight just to try to get some XP. As he says, well, I'm not getting away anyway, and that is first blood given over to Gideon's Lilia.
Yeah, and if he wants, you could probably just go for Dragon here. They've kind of forfeited grubs in these situations. Actually opted not to, he's moving up. Lahens is in position. They want to have that cake and eat it too. They'll get that kill on the bot side, but they're not willing to give up here.
Valkyrie in with Andal nearby, but just the fact that Gideon exists.
Lahens is just soloing Sponge away from the grubs, apparently.
The threat of all 4 members coming up, right?
Yeah, and because Andal was waiting around mid, it does mean that G was able to move first.
Bowling ball is going to miss. Engage comes in from Andal. It's on to Braum, though, and now the turn comes in. Lahens tanking up so much damage once again. Low health bars, though, on the side of Nongshim as they look to turn onto Teddy, who might be in a bit of trouble. Flashes, though, and the low health bars might come back to bite them as DRX, they get another engage. Andal slept for quite a while. As here comes King in, level 6 himself. He has tried to join this fight as there's the ult! And the death, though, is traded back. King looking for a second, gets his second. And Gideon still fighting against Sponge here, who would love to get the Scuttle Crab, and he will be able to.
Yeah, so big roam from Kingin actually started to go in favor of DRX. If Kingin hadn't been there, I think it would have just been kind of a clean sweep. Well, maybe not a clean sweep, but a huge edge given over. Rich just gets some alone time now, but Fish is going to be there in time. And actually, Rich, I think, could be dead.
He didn't flash last time, so there's that. And he is going to flash the arrow.
That was a difference maker. Gideon. Yeah. Playing a dangerous game here.
Well, he checks the brush. And he's just going to say, okay, you can take my red buff, but I'm not going to stop farming. I am Gideon, and I am Lilia.
Problem is, even though Nongshim made those moves bot lane to kind of look for the Jax, this has led them to have a weak situation top where Kingin trying to struggling getting towards the tower. I think because bot lane, you can see Lehens is moving up toward top side. He will be able to get in, pick up some farm, but we've seen a bunch of plates picked up for DRX. They got that bot lane plate from Rich, got some plates top side for Teddy. Fisher, well, I think it must have been Jiwoo who got it earlier. We'll see this play going down in the bot lane. And Gideon actually tries to predict Rich's flash. So goes for the flash, the W here, kind of where the flash would end up. Rich holds the flash and figures I was just dead anyway. If he flashes in, he's flashing into it, into the W, he's just dead. Ops instead, just to give it up. But here, this is an interesting fight. So Fish is quite low. I think that's a big factor here. I know Yukal is, but Fish is kind of on the front lines right now. And we see they go into the fight, but they're very non-committal because of the Braum passive. They don't want to get stunned up. Teddy's doing good damage, and the whole team leans on chasing him down. But then Yukal gets this massive jump in, the follow-up is F Andal. Gideon's sleep does kind of save the play, but you kind of think of how this play was going. Andal's dead, but Jiwoo's about to go down. If Kingen isn't here, I think it's just kind of doomed. I think if Kingen isn't there, Gideon probably dies as well.
Yeah.
And Kingen doesn't get those 2 kills in return, so it would have been an absolute disaster.
You can see the spear hit Kingen, and I think the call from Sponge was, oh crap, Ambessa's here, back away. But Teddy did not get the memo as he was looking for that kill. And he did get it, but he also had to pay for his life, for it, and let Kingen join the fight. And he was able to pick up that second kill as well. So Nongshim feeling pretty good about cleaning up the end of that. They've got a Fed top laner now and a Fed jungler. As Kingen, he's being baited into this one. Oh, he dashes straight into a very nice spear from Sponge. And Rich gonna shoot him the little happy bumblebee for that one.
Yeah, it's recalling on the ward. Rich finds him out, the spear connects, and you know, we talked about this needs to be a good game from Sponge and this Nidalee. It has been so far. 1,000 gold lead for Nongshim. This is how you want a game to go when you have the Nidalee.
Yeah, so now the Nidalee, ahead on farm, picks up a kill, and is very slightly ahead of Gideon. So feels pretty good about picking this one up. Really the angle on the spear is the coolest moment of this one.
Yeah, also the fact he kind of dashes to the side instead of like directly away. It kind of seemed like he was like, okay, I'm going to back off, but not that much. And then he realized Sponge was there and he was in for a bad time.
Yeah, not respecting
Once
the
again,
lack of vision.
No dragon taken. Feels quite late, you know. We've had this contests over the grubs early in these series, but dragon's kind of like an afterthought.
Dragon is just, you know, he's a bit outdated. You know, there's been a lot of new things added. The grubs, the Rift Heralds, Atakan,
Yeah.
all the plants and stuff. Dragon's just sitting there like, don't you care about me still?
Such a busy Rift.
I don't think this is going to amount to too much. Just some supports taking a bit of damage, but the grubs are coming up.
This is going to sound like the most standard thing ever, but it's actually kind of, I have a lot of respect for Teddy for not cleansing, because the amount of times I've seen LCK AD carries, they get hit by an cleanse immediately. Like, even when there's no
It's what they're programmed to do, Ox. They don't know how to do anything else.
Teddy makes the decision that, hey, they're not going to tower dive me right now with 2 teammates here, and just holds it. Genius.
Imagine that. Well, Teddy's got a very nice angle now, and he has his cleanse, so you see that Lehens and Jiwoo are just running away, but you can't quite run away from the Kai'Sa. Double flash over the wall to get on top of Jiwoo, and they will do just that. Still a fight here over the grubs. Will turn into a quick 3v2, but Sponge is on the chase. They should be able to take down Anvil, though, painlessly, as Sponge takes away the grub as well. 3-4-3 in that objective. Fisher here now, and it's getting messy once again. We got a 4v4. In goes King, and he gets the angle, but that's on the Yukal. Now he's trying to flash away and trying to get some peel, but that's the kill on the Ridge. Fisher, full health. He's got the Gatling gun, and he's just running them down with it as Teddy able to at least take out one with the help of Yukal. The missile is going to miss as it's in the name, and here comes Fisher, and there's not much you can do about that. You're not getting away from those two as Kingen comes in and steals both kills.
I feel like once again, Kingen is just being like the difference maker in these fights. It would have been a much more one-sided game towards DRX, in fact, if it wasn't for Kingen's plays here. This fight is very delicate. Jiwoo you know, starts to get chunked out by Teddy. Teddy still has his cleanse, so it's not like Lehens can do much. Flashes away, 2 flashes in return. AD carry dead, but in this fight, I think Andal and Rich maybe starting a bit too early. Andal ends up going down, so it's now been a 1-for-1 trade, but support for AD carry. DRX feeling good. But Kingin, this is such a daring move to go for, but it ends up paying off. You know, he ults in onto Yukal, catches him, gets some damage down, flashes out of the stun, and then he's just, you know, he uses his health bar as a resource, allows Fisher to move up, allows Gideon to do a ton of damage. Kingin's still trying to make things happen despite being a blinking red health bar. And then this final play here, you know, if Kingin doesn't step up here, they might have just killed Fisher. The heal comes in, the execute for the nearly there, but Kingin steps in and finishes it off. And that fight was down to the wire. And I feel like we've kind of seen that, the fight so far in this game, super close, super clutch. But now you're dealing with a 4-1 Ambessa, a 3-0 Lilia. The game was looking good for DRX, but it's kind of just explode in their faces.
Yeah, I mean, it was very, very close. It was just a couple of fights that could have gone either way, and Nongshim just barely coming out ahead. King and the difference maker, as you said. Talked about Rich's champion pool on the space. You know, it was a great mention from, I think it was Wolf and Wadid, who were talking about how he's gone back to this Ambessa many a time. If it's not Cassante, they take the Ambessa away. He's playing Jax, not quite the same impact. And this is just game 2, right? We're very early on in what could be 5 games. DRX would have to step it up a bit to make it possible. I feel like Yukal is doing well for himself. He's not playing Akali at least, and he has shown that at least, you know, he can have a big impact on this Jace mid, and he's been doing that. But, you know, Kingin going in there and getting, you know, the refresh on the Braum stun onto Yukal in a very important moment in that pit, also pretty huge. As we're seeing the pullback animation here.
And I think that's really how the fights need to be played for Nongshim. DRX have a lot of long-range poke, have a lot of mobile characters who can dive onto targets and isolate them. But in a grouped 5v5, if Nongshim are like see target, kill target, stack up the passive, from Braum, very hard to deal with, especially since so much damage can be blocked by either the Braum, like, you know, you can block spears, block shock blasts, or just Kingin. You can just tank it, you know? He's built that way.
Yeah. He's built that way. Ambessa's built that way.
Ambessa certainly is a champion of full time.
We don't have Mel yet, but we will.
Oh man.
Yeah. These champions, they just keep coming out.
Yeah, you think Ambessa's broken? You should see her daughter, you know?
Yeah.
I think what's crazy is we had the hotfix that came in with Mel on release, yeah. And it was one of the bigger immediate hotfixes I've seen for champion. She's still bonkers. Release Mel, not okay.
I think they realized, like, oh crap, we don't want another Xinjiao situation. Like, no, please. And yeah, she's...
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, you know, they responded quickly, but I mean, hit W is just absurd. But you know, we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves. We don't have to worry about that right now.
I don't think we have to worry about that. Don't quote me on this until April.
Yeah.
Pretty sure we're just on this patch for the rest of LCK Cup.
Yeah, we just have to worry about like Ambessa and Skarner, you know?
Yeah. Cassante still exists.
Oh god.
But, you know, it's fearless, it's fun. As that arrow, not the best. I mean, he had vision. Maybe didn't expect them to just run straight at Nongshim at that exact moment. And, you know, they're doing a lot of zoning at the same time. In goes Rich. He's going to open this up for, you know, Teddy to jump in. But it feels like this is looking good for the side of Nongshim. But it is the Rift Herald taken by Sponge. Look at the health bars, though. Ondel just going to have to evacuate. And Nongshim saying, you know what? We don't have Fisher. He could TP, but we don't have to. It's so smart. How many times have we seen teams be like, no, we have to TP in, we have to fight this? He's like, no, just going to take the tower down.
I think also shows the confidence that Nongshim have. It's like DRX have scary poke, but like they just really didn't pose that much threat in terms of taking down Nongshim. They got the Herald, they got out. DRX like, okay, successful heist, and Nongshim are like, we're not, okay, whatever, you can have it. You know, we'd have liked it, but we'll just take your bot tower. Fisher gets some free farm. We're okay with that trade-off. And we'll see the replay. You know, the arrow obviously missed. Some Qs from the Hens didn't miss. Didn't hit, sorry. But they dive in on Kingin, and Kingin is just bulky and also mobile. Hard to do much. this 3-man sleep from Gideon is pretty massive. And as soon as that connects, DRX are like, okay, we got the hell, just get out. Just get out. And then they're like, wait, they're not TPing Corki. And Nongshim just walk away.
The second that UCal TP's in, you can see the comms are like so crisp from Nongshim. They're like, okay, we're not taking this fight.
Yeah, and also like Andal Flash is trying, I think, follow up on Ambessa. Like clearly the call was like, hey, we can kill Ambessa. And like Teddy ulted over. And then King did this thing where, I don't know if you know this about Ambessa, she actually has a lot of dashes in her kit. Yeah. And she dashed to the side.
I have heard about that, yeah.
And then the play was over. That was it. Oh, I'm stunned. I have make treads. I dashed like a meter. Okay.
About 12 to 15 times to the right. And yeah. Not really the target, I think. Yeah, that you can burst down.
I think the problem is as well is like everyone on Nongshim has a lot of sums. You know, obviously they would love to get on like Fisher, but Fisher's not there. Jiwoo has cleanse. You know, Gideon is scary to engage onto because he's actually quite bulky with the Leandries and the Haunting guys and the ult. So it's just difficult. I think it's difficult for them to find angles.
Oh, looking for one onto Jiwoo. That was a close spear.
Yeah, the walk in a straight line strategy, and it worked.
Yeah. You know, we mentioned earlier there have been some Nidalis that did struggle. That was actually Pioshik in the match. He just had no setup, right? But at least this team comp has some setup for Sponge, and he has looked great on the Nidalee.
He's also been hitting some without setup, you know?
Without the CC, which is also important.
Yeah.
But he's got that, at least, so... But again, Ambessa's not the target. I feel like other players, maybe not Lahens, but the other three, perhaps you should be able to burst down if you've got like a clear shot with UCal and Sponge to land some poke. There you go. Just hit the poke. Just don't miss. And you're going to be in a great spot. There's no saving Fisher here. He could try to TP, but then he'd just die instead. He's going to Valkyrie and survive for a little bit longer. And who they give the kill to is really the question. As the crowd goes wild because nothing misses.
They could just go for Atakan, though. Like, normally I'm quite praiseful of Lahens doing this thing where he defends his lane with it. There's nothing to be done for Fisher there. And it's on the side of the map with Atakan. You see the TP coming in from Kingin.
They're playing for it.
Sponge is low on mana, but, you know, as he's a jungler, he will regen it quick.
Well, now DRX have pulled off the objective, but they want to take the fight. They want to get in onto Nongshim. And the backline here, they're not successfully able to do so. Nice solar flare, but again, the follow-up is not there. They're not able to take down Jiwoo. And
the sleep!
The sleep! The lineup! It's perfect as the Brambles over the top as well. Do they have the damage though? And the 4v5 is the question. Yes, they absolutely do, as Gideon just prances around, immediately dies, but it doesn't matter. Kingin is unkillable, and Jiwoo is as well for some reason. Nobody could take him down, and Fisher, he's like, hey, remember me?
He gets this!
This is revenge!
Getting Sponge is so big here. It's a Nidalee. She can sustain herself up. She would still have the smite. You wouldn't be able to do Atakan if Nidalee was still alive. Fisher makes the commit. He flashes to secure it. And here, you know, once again, Lahens is trying to help out his solo laner. But it's just so funny. It's like, you know what, buddy? You're on your own. I am leaving. I've got some presents to deliver. Yeah, just goodbye, Fisher. You're on your own, Chief. But here, they're trying to make the engage happen, but the slow from Jiwoo comes in. The counter-strike doesn't do anything. Lahens on Braum is obviously very hard to punish. Yeah. The ult gets 2, but the sleep comes out and gets 3 in this lineup. The Braum ult and the Ambessa ult. Immediate double flash coming out. And then Jiwoo is just free-hitting this whole time. Yeah. He's just constantly auto-attacking, applying those slows. UCal does get that big shutdown onto the Lilia, but yeah, and then I honestly think this final play from Fisher is massive. He knows if Sponge is dead, Atakan is free. If Sponge is alive, we can't do it without a jungler. So he commits the flash, they get the kill, they now have Atakan buff across the board. And something else to mention, you know, Infernal Mountain first 2 dragons, Hextech Soul. So ideally, if Nongshim, they won't have the Atakan buff for when the dragon spawns, but if they can get an even bigger advantage than they already have, you know, take that mid tower, get some extra gold lead, set themselves up for that 3rd dragon. They're in a fantastic spot. TV flank is coming in from Rich.
Remember, there's a minute and a half on Atakan buff. They're really trying to punish this. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to, really. They might get Jiwoo here, but he does cleanse and flash over the wall. That will be 1 withdrawal. And Fisher kind of going 1v3. Not the best situation for him. He will go down as well. And they should be able to get Lahens unless he can hop over to Jiwoo here. Now just going to walk on a straight line. That's actually a better strat. What was I thinking? Meanwhile, okay, he's instead going to go in and die, as will Jiwoo. Just a bunch of withdrawals with the Otacon buff. And Kingan's just bot, pushing the tower.
This is just a massive punish, though, from DRX. You know, they get about 800 gold from the kills, which is still pretty significant. But the big thing is they also got, like, Jiwoo Summoners. They got Gideon Flash as well. They stopped the play that Nongshim was setting up for. And I was talking, okay, you've got Otacon. Let's see what you can get with it. Let's see you really push that lead. And now they... oh, no.
Yeah, Fisher, he stopped the back. That wasn't happening.
Yeah.
And... okay, he baited the engage. There you go.
From there to defend, so still okay. But yeah, I think DRX did a fantastic job of punishing, but still behind, still struggling. Rich is looking for an angle, though. They need to get the tower and get out. Oh, the engage!
The angle is the way of Kingan, but yeah, he's just trying to use the end of the Otacon buff. He didn't have to do that. He didn't have to give 200 gold over.
That was a choice.
You could have just ran away with your team. Team comp is amazing at kiting with Ash, Braum, and Lilia, but
he's sending a message. He's like, look, I can always hit, right?
I mean, that was pretty... it looked very cool.
Yeah.
We'll give him that.
Not the best play, I would say. But this from DRX was really good. You know, I think the big thing is that Ambessa, who's been that clutch factor in all these fights, isn't here, doesn't have TP. Jiwoo very out of position with where his jungle support are. Does bring the cleanse flash, which helps him survive for a long time, but doesn't change the state of things at all. They're still able to chase him down over the longer fight. And this Jace is actually Yukal. You know, he's been kind of quiet in this series, just not able to have the impact. He is starting to do some damage.
Why are they jumping back in there? Like, they could have just ran back to the turret. They really wanted that kill on a sponge.
Yeah.
With the Otacon buff. I mean,
always think we can turn it. We can turn it. Perhaps not.
It's just... They desperately wanted it, and they did not get it. Fight over the Scuttle Crab. Nice burst from Sponge, who is not nearly as far behind as he was in Game 1. Still down a level.
Yep.
And down farm. It's Gideon at 4-1 and 7 in this game. Spears and Poke should go the way of DRX as the Hextech Dragon is being burst down. The flash on in. They are going to catch you. He doesn't have the sums. And they try to take him down, but it takes them so long. They do take the axe out of the fight, though. Gideon, desperate for something, goes into the Zhonya's. And he's got the Ambessa with him. Meanwhile, Rich in the backline, though, is going to survive forever. Finally gets smoked down by Gideon. But DRX have already won the fight. And they want a bit more. They're going to take down the Hands and the Hextech Dragon for their troubles.
That's the cost. Jiwoo burning both his summoners. You know, the death alone, I don't think it was that big of a deal when he died with the Otacon buff, but losing those sums made him a vulnerable target. Andal finds a beautiful ult, and the team are there to clean up. You know, Nongshim, they're on the objective. They're getting poked down. It ends up backfiring. Aren't able to secure that soul point, and now we'll lose Baron to DRX, who with this will take the gold lead. Actually, I see that. Gideon is approaching, but has no way to get into the pit, and Andal is there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Just gonna see it happen.
DRX will pull into a slight gold lead off the back of this. Yeah, replay of this fight. So, Rich actually gets so much value here. The ult on a Jiwoo is huge. He does last a long while, but eventually does go down. But the thing is, Gideon is like trying to set up the sleep over here, and Kingan's like, okay, I'll follow up, I'll help you. But Rich is still alive. You know, they forget about him.
It's just following up. Great counter-strike.
I think he was like, okay, I'm going down, let's see what I can do. And then Ambessa's like, goodbye. Yeah. Hard to tell. Hard to tell if Kingan was aiming for the short range ult on Rich, or he was trying to follow up on the Kai'Sa. I think he was trying to follow up on the Kai'Sa. Could have also just been a miss that ended up backfiring. You know, like when you Leona E on the wrong person.
Yeah.
I can't say, you know, we didn't see his point of view, but ultimately was the wrong decision or the wrong place to end up with that ultimate. And I think you saw there when the fight gets a bit split. I mean, obviously when Jiwoo dies, the fights have been successful and he's been kind of untouched. That's a big thing. His summoners are coming back up now. But also, when you have this composition with the Braum, you're so good at like clumping together and picking a target, killing a target, picking a target, killing a target. They were very split there.
Oh, that's going to be a huge one from Teddy. Jiwoo even flashes at the end. And he just gets outplayed by Teddy straight up. They're pushing with the Baron. projectile hits him, and Jiu just does not respect it, not able to get away.
Yeah, Lahen's not there, not in range to help out, and suddenly the game has gone from, you know, a game where DRX...
Okay. Trying to do something here. They did a teensy bit of damage to Ondil.
Yeah. Trying to just keep the wave back, but... Oh, Kingham's found Teddy. That's a lot of damage.
Oh, forces the flash too. Teddy in an awkward spot, but look at this. This is even more awkward. Gideon gonna be caught out. Teddy's low, but it was a fantastic bait. He gets away. Lahens has the flash. And they still have the Baron.
Yeah.
50 seconds on the Red Bull Baron power play. I mean, they're gonna get this inhibitor. I mean, Jiu is up though. Maybe they get a bit scared, but no. The other two members have to back and get some health back. And DRX will just take the inhibitor.
Nongshim trying to make the... Oh, Hex gating in. Lahens really wants a fight.
It is Lahens alone. Nobody has followed him. Jiu probably making the smart call not to follow him. And yeah, just a little bonus Braum kill. Not bad.
Game 1 was all about sacrificing and getting value for it. Game 2 is about sacrificing. Maybe not the second bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lahen's just, he's paying off to this tangent. I guess I just didn't expect you to go to... I mean, Lahen's is such aggressive positioning consistently here. You can tell he's trying to make things happen. I feel like this is one of these situations where Braum, in terms of what the composition wants, is a fine pick. But in terms of what Lahen's wants, it's really not working that well, because he wants to be like, guys, I'm making a play. Come with me, come, go, 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 go. But he's just kind of walking at them with his shield up.
And then his backline dies at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think especially, you know, we know Lahens is very vocal. We know he's a big shot caller. It's very, even though Braum, it feels like, you know, Braum, Leona, they're both tanky, they're both melee. You're not doing the same things in a fight. And I think he's he's wanting to do what like Leona does, but he's on a champion who's, that's not your function.
Yeah.
He's split from his AD carry. He's trying to step and play aggressive, just gets punished. He's trying to get them interested, but you're not a Leona who's super tanky and can lock them down. I think he's struggling now that they've lost control of this game. And they're even in kills, but it's now a 5,000 goal lead for DRX. Nice dodge. Less nice dodge. Considering how the game started, with a lot of plays that could have gone DRX favored, not. They really managed to come back in this one.
Yeah.
And this comp, you can see how, like, you know, Teddy on the Kai'Sa, Sponge on the Nidalee.
All right.
Feeling a lot more alive.
We're going to do Hextech Dragon Fight 2, Electric Boogaloo, as Sponge taking a ton of damage, actually. He has to flash away. In goes Rich. It's very disjointed from DRX. Sponge is out of the fight. He is healing, though, but I think it's a little bit too late to actually contest this one. In goes Gideon, looking for something. Doesn't want to sleep, only Ondil, but it's just DRX. They've got their hands up in the air, and they're like, please don't come at us. We don't want to fight. We'll even give you Ondil for free. And that they do, so Nongshim somehow steal away a Hextech trade.
I think a big difference is if the arrow connects, you know, they're the ones initiating. Even though they don't kill Sponge, they force him low. Sponge has to play defensive. You can't threaten the smite. Really changes the dynamic. And also the poke just wasn't really connecting that effectively onto Nongshim. They've been decisive, and also if you look at the items coming through, something to be said for the fact that Jiu and Fisher both have Bloodthirsters. Jiu did cleanse against that Leona ult. Fisher dashed away from Rich. The engage doesn't come through. They're on the objective. You can see Fisher and Jiu healing up. But then Gideon also, you know, there's a lot of sustain from Nongshim you're starting to see come through. If the poke doesn't land, they'll be healthy. And they just chase down Andal. Yeah, I think Nongshim doing a good job of sticking as a unit together in that one. And also just chunking out Sponge. Both of those had a lot of value there.
I mean, when we continue on in this game, we're already 32 minutes in. It's actually a pretty close game. Like, DRX are in the lead, for sure. They have first check on this Baron, which they're probably going to look to start up, or at least bait for. And if they can get the engages started on their terms with Ondil's fantastic Leona plays so far, then certainly, you know, DRX might just run away from this one, but run away with this one, maybe not from this one. But we saw even yesterday against Hamalife, you know, some rough spots where it felt like DRX probably should be having angles, should be winning games, and
yes,
weren't quite able to. So I wonder where their confidence level is at right now here in game 2.
That's the thing to say for the game being in this position. DRX should win this game. You know, there's outs for Nongshim. I'm not saying like they absolutely 100% should win it, but they are favored quite heavily. It's easy to say with a 5k gold lead, but there were situations like that against Honor Life Esports, and I'm hoping they've learned from that. Not to make any crazy plays, not to overforce. Connect the poke. You know, you have so much strength there. You also have the Serpent's Fang from Yukal, so when the poke hits, oh, look for the head.
Yeah, Ando just going to go in by himself. The Solar Flare is decent, but there's zero follow-up. DRX were like, what was that? We're not going in on that.
Yeah, I think maybe because Rich was on the flank, they were looking for something, but like the poke was landing, it was good poke.
Yeah.
They didn't need to engage there. I was going to say, even Yukal has the Serpent's Fang, so when he hits the Bloodthirster shield, it gets reduced on top of the fact that you're doing the poke. It's a lot of value.
Yeah.
Didn't hit there, unfortunately. You can see the Hens wants to recall, but he's kind of hesitant about it. Got no wards in pocket other than the control ward. So he's trying to find some way to get back. Kai'Sa very annoying at stopping recalls.
But it's just another fight where like Andal just dies and nothing happens. This time nothing happens. Last time it was the Hextech Drake first, and then he died. So now it's just Nongshim kind of buying time for potentially they look better as a team right now. You know, playing as a 5-man unit. I really worry for DRX in this situation. It's weird to say. It's so
weird because like Nongshim at that dragon fight, they landed the ult on Sponge, got some poke, didn't commit. That's really what DRX should be doing. Getting some poke, you don't need to commit. Oh, Teddy.
Yeah, Sleep comes in. Teddy going in though. Jiwoo in a lot of trouble again. He flashes for nothing. Down will go Lahens. And I was worried for DRX, but they get a couple of kills. Anto though going to go down. Kingen is a raid boss. And he flashes over the wall, but Rich is able to get the follow here as Gideon desperate to try to peel for him, but now he's put himself in a rough spot. Has to flash away. And DRX come up big in this fight. Should be able to take down the Baron.
Once again, Nongshim get caught sleeping, a little bit split on that one, and DRX have thrived. When Nongshim are split, they're able to punish. Jiwoo falls down again, and the timing of this is perfect, because Dragon was in a minute, and if that Dragon spawned before Baron went down, DRX could be in a really tough position where you're kind of being dragged towards the Dragon, to deny Soul, but you also don't want to give them Baron. It's never a good situation to be in. But here, you know, Yukal's mid, and they just kind of have to walk through Teddy, and it just doesn't work. So split right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just felt like Nongshim really dropped the ball, and it feels like DRX have been looking for these angles, you know, hasn't always worked, but this one paid off massively.
Yeah, and I can understand why they were desperately trying to join up, because Gideon...
Oh, not again, not again!
Yeah, Jiwoo, I think he's just dead. I mean, how can you save him? He's got nothing. They just flash over the Braum. The Braum doesn't even exist. They don't even look at him. Well, they'll take him down as an afterthought. Nongshim, one by one. The dominoes fall, and DRX say, well, do we even need the Dragon? Maybe we can just end the game.
Jiwoo has just not looked good this game at all. You can obviously put some criticism towards Lahens for not being with him, but, you know, the Hexgate start channeling, and he was kind of like, where do I go? Where do I go? Away! Run away! Jiwoo!
The other direction! There is only one direction to go away from this one.
Yeah, very indecisive. DRX managing to close this one out.
Yeah, they should be able to, especially with the Baron. Nice flash as Rich does get a little bit low, but it just doesn't matter at this point. The wallet are heavy enough. And Fisher just gives a little thumbs up and says, good job, guys. DRX, you figured it out. You won a game from ahead, and you were able to close one out here. So that's going to be a nice confidence booster for them as they take down Nongshim in game 2 and give us an interesting series.
I'm really glad they closed this game out. You know, I think a couple of plays were really close to going in their favor early on, which put the game in Nongshim's favor overall. But I think we saw DRX play a better game. They were comfortable in their picks. They managed to punish Jiwoo massively. Jiwoo looked really out of sorts. And I think two things that have come from this. Firstly, Jiwoo needs to step up his game, but also Lahens put him on an engaged champion. Okay, the Braum, I mean, obviously it's fearless. He's not going to see it again, but he needs to be on something where he's making the plays happen, because you can see he wanted to, but didn't have the tools. Yeah, it's a good bounce back on this one. And I think DRX definitely, when things got messy, and this game was definitely a messier one than game 1, managed to hold strong to close out, which is something they couldn't do against HLE.
Yeah.
That being said, Nidalee and Kai'Sa were huge picks for the side of DRX. They're gone now.
Yeah.
And we're going to see how that changes the dynamic of the series. Chance we go the distance, you know, if games keep being traded back and forth like this, and that's really going to test some champion pools.
Yeah, I was worried after game 1 where Nongshim just absolutely crushed them, 20,000 gold lead. I was like, oh, quick 3-0, I guess. That is not the case. DRX have figured it out. They win a game with some strong picks on their side, and they're able to close it out. It is now 1-1 in the series, and we'll be back after the break.
야 노플이야 노플. 아 플래시 모르겠네.
발길 없는데?
나킬 3초 나킬 3초.
딜라인도 좋아, 딜라인 좋아.
내가 그렇게 밀어내볼게. 그렇게 한 배사 한 배사. 끝내자 끝내자.
끝내. 나이스, 잘했다.
와 근데 진짜 힘들었다.